may I welcome you all, not many, but less is more sometimes, to the fourth panel of Euroconsumers. This session will actually unveil the market readiness, as I said this morning, in relation to what? In relation to translate sustainability into action, which is not only a slogan for your consumers, because we want really to enable market players to better fulfill and satisfy consumer needs. So this is our mission. I'm Luisa Cris Giovanni. I started 30 years ago in Altro Consumo in Italy as a public affairs officer. I became the legal and secretary general representative of Altro, and I do sit again as Altro Consumo representative at BEUC Executive Board. As well, I do represent Italy as consumer policy advisory expert at European Commission. But I'm also working for Euroconsumers as head of European grants manager, and I do try to develop through projects opportunities for us to grow and to really better serve consumer interests. That said, here on the stage, I have a pleasure to have great speakers. Why? Because they are not only experts in their respective fields, but they are really working on sustainability, so they are really into action. And you can see here on my left Sasha Zavratnik, who is not only actually a biologist, but is especially a project manager at Izavod. And here she's Slovenian, and she does represent the REPER project, which is a project about reparability, just started, led by the Metropolitan City of Bologna, and of which 3 of our organizations are partner of: OCU, Portugal Decopoteste, and Altro Consumo, because it's a southern country project, but you will discover more later on. Then we have Paolo Pinzeri, who is actually Pinzoni, sorry, the head of public affairs of Vodafone, and you will discover more about it because he's also actually following sustainability for Vodafone very closely. So we'll listen to manufacturer, if you want, or a company perspective, how they feel, whether as a burden or an opportunity to really, be engaged in sustainability. Then we have Rembrandt Coppola from EcoWise, EcoDengue. He's not only, again, an expert on the field, but he's also managing CIRTRE project because he is actually really make it happen and a kind of, anticipation of what the digital product passport will be, so creating the infrastructure, the digital infrastructure of data exchange among companies, stakeholders, consumer organization. And we have Ugo Vallauri as well, who is the co-founder of Restart Project, again, a network of, he will tell us, about 70 actually mainly NGO, but repair center, okay? They are really trying to translating again into facts the right to repair, and so we'll discover with him the barriers and what could be the incentive, the solution ready to have for consumers and for company to really have a better footprint of our way of consuming. And last but not least, Silvia Barlassina, my colleague at BEUC, who is actually managing, again, a project about eco-design. We have listened this morning from Leuven professor that eco-design is a cornerstone of the sustainable and circular economy, I would say, revolution. And we will discover with Silvia how. And if I may, I will start exactly from this point and question. And for housekeeping rules, there will be place for your questions differently than from this morning workshop, I say so, in the last 10 minutes of this session. So just be prepared to raise your question and actually be challenging for our speakers about this. I will go again go to raise some question to Sylvia, because as I said this morning, the eco-design for sustainable product regulation mandates design requirements to products to enhance repairability, while the directive of empowering consumer for green transition requires retailers to inform buyers, that we've seen, and then we have the initiative of the revision of the repair rules. So in a way, the legislation is there. And the point is, however, again and again, after 30 years of consumerism, you can really trust me, is like, so the enforcement. So the weakest point is when it's up to the member state to define, for example, the measure to really translate the measure into a standards, or to define, we will see, what is really the ranking of the products, the timing of the so-called delegation act that will be attached to the eco-design. So my question to you, how this eco-design regulation will impact the durability, reliability, repairability, and recyclability. So are we ready? That was actually the key question of this panel, according to your perspective and what you have seen happening also in the forum at Brussels level, European level. What's the level of readiness to this regard that you have experienced?
Yeah, thanks a lot. Is this on like this? Wait, okay. You can hear me fine. We're not too many, so it should be fine. Yeah, thanks a lot for the questions, and thanks a lot for organizing this nice event in this super nice location. It's the first time I'm here, so it's very nice. So yeah, as you know, Belk has been involved for several years in the design policy. It's often not so easy to it's not immediately clear what's the effect really on consumers and the environment of this policy tool, eco-design. Last year we had published in Belk a study which is really called Eco-Design, the Silent Moneymaker in consumers' households. Why so? Because eco-design in the past years has really contributed to making appliances like washing machines, dishwashers, TVs more energy efficient, and this has also brought several hundreds of euros in savings also in consumers' energy bills. Now, as you rightly say, we have this new gigantic regulation, which is the revamped version of the Eco-Design Directive, which is the Eco-Design for Sustainable Products Regulation, which moves a bit away from the central focus of energy efficiency, which remains still, thank you, a central topic, of course, but that also looks into making products more sustainable by design as its core objective, and this means products that are more durable, so that consumers can really hold to them for longer, they can be repaired more easily, and in general they can be more fit for circularity. And this is, of course, great news from an environmental perspective. There is a big focus on resource efficiency, but also on consumers. As we say, consumers are more and more interested in holding to their products for longer, and it's not always so easy. So what eco-design can do there, and we have some examples already in some product-specific regulation, is to make this more easier from a design perspective. You also rightly said, and this is what we think also in Belk, eco-design is a piece of a much bigger puzzle in this context. There is, in fact, the Right to Repair Directive, which is another very important piece of legislation which works very much in combination with eco-design, and which, among other things, for example, introduces an obligation to repair larger appliances or smartphones. Also, the new year extension of the legal guarantee if consumers decide to repair a product rather than have it replaced during the legal guarantee. So there are a few different elements from the legislative field that can really contribute to making a change. Of course, then we have to see, as you say, how this can be implemented, right?
Yeah, according to you, as BEOC, does represents an umbrella organization gathering many, more than 40 consumer organizations. So you probably have evidences and data about how far we are from reaching the goals set by, the new regulations. So according to the evidence of the testing activity and the survey done by BEOC members, and even coming from companies themselves, are we really far from reaching the objective? Is a kind of too ambitious goal, or how is the gap? How large is it?
It's a tough question. I think it's a question that when talking about eco-design, it's often raised. We know that eco-design and the ESPR is, in particular, the ESPR is really a framework legislation, right? This means that to see the effect of new measures on the market, so to see products that are really affected by new design rules, it will take a few years. And I think we will see new rules being applicable in 2027. So it provides quite a long timeline of implementation. And this is why it's very important, and our call to policymakers is always do not delay, make sure that there are enough resources to follow up on the very good promises of making sustainable products the norm in the market. There is also a bit of an issue, and I think maybe Ugo might touch upon this later, of the extent to which eco-design can cover how many products, because in principle, the scope is huge of this regulation. But
how many categories does it cover?
I think it's most consumer products except feed, animal feed, and medicines, if I'm not mistaken. So it has a very huge scope. Now clothes will be also in scope, furniture, cosmetics, anything that you might think of. But this also gives the idea of how much work there is, and this needs to be, of course, backed up with resources and time. So this is a first issue maybe that we have to look out for. And I think regarding repair in particular, because I think this is also the focus that you wanted to give to this panel, we see from the recent surveys and consumer polls that consumers really want to take an active role in also protecting the environment, repairing a product rather than throwing away a product is part potentially of these activities. But also what we see from our members' activities is that unfortunately it's still not very easy because either repair is just technically not very feasible because spare parts are not easily available, or parts are glued together, so it's not easy to have a repair done. And then the central barrier, I think, that still is there is the high cost of repair, which is still a main contributor of why consumers do not pay. Some of our members are telling us that, according to their market checks, spare parts can cost up to 60% of the price of a new product. So if you add to this the service cost of a repair person that comes to fix the product and so on, it adds to quite an important amount, which doesn't make, unfortunately, repair the affordable option or the easy option for everyone. So there is a lot of work, in our opinion, to do on this front. Eco-design can do so much, in the sense that making repair easier, also technically by design, can also bring down costs, hopefully, of repair services. But it's also, as I said before, it's only a part of the puzzle, and we need to really create an infrastructure, as you're saying, to really enable consumers to repair products and to hold to their products longer
Yeah. Thank you very much, Silvia. Actually, this gives me the opportunity to give the floor to Ugo, because as you have said, so first the product must be designed in a way that can be repairable, so that you can actually substitute with the spare part. The spare part must be available. Most of all, my question to you is, are we ready to repair? How, for example, your network of repair is really supporting both. In a way, consumers that need to have an accessible point or, repair center where to go to, but even manufacturer, are they in touch with manufacturer to really have access to the needed information to repair the product, because most of the products are now also with software embedded, so the point is really how to repair it thanks to this technology. So where we stand, what's the status of readiness of repair center to make it happen, to make the product last longer, because of course, as we discovered from Sylvia, it will take us some time to have a product design in a way that they can be really efficient and maybe also more resistant. So in the meantime, we have to be able to repair what we have.
Thank you, and great to be here. I hope it's all working. So I need to go back to and follow up immediately to Sylvia's points, because I'm here in two capacities today. One, I'm a co-director of the Restart Project, which is a charity that has been supporting community repair groups across Europe and beyond to really push up, bottom up, the movement for the right to repair, and supporting repair cafes, restart parties, community events, activities that are giving people a chance to repair things and resist the throwaway economy. But I'm also a co-founder and in the steering group of Right to Repair Europe, which is a coalition of over 170 organizations combining environmental NGOs, repair networks, refurbishers, retailers of refurbished products, and independent repairers, and many other organizations, think tanks. And we are seeing that we are not ready, and we need to make this very clear. The legislative steps go in the right direction, yes, but they are incredibly slow at taking place. And we published in just 2 months ago a report called The Rise of Community Repair that looks at the range of products for which we have data coming from over 208,000 repairs attempted at community repair initiatives across Europe and beyond. And the reality is that with the Right to Repair Directive and the eco-design delegated acts that have been approved so far, and including the one that will be that will require all new smartphone models to be more repairable and longer lasting from June 2025, 96% of all the small electrical and electronic products that are taken every week, every month to repair cafes around Europe are not covered by any right to repair legislation. So we should celebrate that this is happening, but we need to continue to push both bottom up to expand the repair capacity, but also top down to actually speed up the process of the implementation of delegated acts. I want to reflect very briefly on the fact that exactly 6 years ago, a few hundred meters from here, in front of a center of the European Commission, we ran the very first protest for the right to repair. And that was the beginning of the European movement, with a fridge with sad face drawn on it. And it was because at the time we were attempting to push for regulation on eco-design on fridges, washing machines, and dishwashers around that time. Now, imagine around the same time, we were also starting work on eco-design regulations for computers. That work has not been completed yet. So it's been 6 years, and it's just simply not happening at the same speed. In addition, and then we talk about the good stuff, in addition, and we need to be open about this, eco-design, the ESPR gives great opportunities, but at the same time, it failed to approve a ban on the destruction of unsold goods, for which we and plenty of others have provided plenty of evidence of this practice being very widespread across Europe, including, unfortunately, by some companies that are present today in this meeting. So we need to do a lot more, and the EU needs to step forward a much faster pace for this, because otherwise we're going to continue to put the blame on the consumer not willing to pay a certain amount for repair. But in parallel, we have products being destroyed due to overproduction, not overconsumption, and it costs less to destroy it than to find a reusable, sustainable option for these products. So, what do we do then?
So my question to you would be, what killer application would you then use as superhero to actually stop this overproduction and actually to... So it's not just a question of incentivize good behavior or behavioral changes in consumer, but it's a question of how to really stop overproducing or people throwing away things that are still functioning. So what would you suggest?
Yeah, well, first of all, unfortunately, the solution is not going to be an AI solution. Otherwise, we will have the full audience here now. Yeah. But the point is, we need to change the perspective. Now, imagine that we took the repair ecosystem as the next version of a national health system. Imagine we destroy the concept of a throwaway economy and we get companies as well as community repair initiatives, as well as public authorities really investing in repair. Now, what do I mean with that? I mean, the real objective of all these directives and regulations is supposed to reduce the amount of electronic waste we generate. Yes or no? Because if the answer to that is yes, then we should stop tinkering just at the edges, and we should have objectives for a reduction in the production of these products destined to a European market. And how do we do that? We need a new pact. I think we need genuinely to build on the positive experiences that are created by the thousands of repair cafes around Europe and create the next generation of that, which is repair centers that are in every neighborhood. We moved to this concept of buying online rather than trying and buying in a local shop, with all of these shops are empty in all the high streets. We are testing in the UK for now with the Restart project, but there is a great movement that's emerging of people creating, we call them fixing factories, but basically creating hubs in urban centers where repair skills are brought back together. But of course, we can't do that alone. We can't be in charge as citizens purely to have all the solutions. So in the Right to Repair Directive, there's two parts that could play a gigantic role in this. So I don't want to sound negative about the legislation, but the legislation suggests that member states, in adopting it, can create repair funds to make repair more affordable. Now, have a look at this. In Berlin, at the moment, there's a repair fund, which implies that if you take any of the products to a repair cafe in Berlin, you can claim back 100% of the cost of the spare part needed. Now, that makes a big difference, given that the data we have from the French Agency for the Ecological Transition says that if the cost of a repair is more than 30%, people will not do it. The second thing, and then I stop, is the second part is the legislation, the directive also suggests that another way that member states can help is by creating funds for community repair initiatives. Now, these community repair initiatives cannot run on their own every day. They run maybe 3 hours a week in some cases, but a month in many other cases. We need a repair economy combined with a bottom-up repair culture, and we need resources. But how about the manufacturers? Rather than being these adversaries and this building of an opposition, no, we can do this all together in an open way. We demonstrated that we can build open data repositories showing what are the faults in products. How about we do this together and we collectively find a system where we're not fighting one anti the other. No, we just simply want to reduce the mountain of electronic waste. Otherwise, we're just talking about theoretical commas in legislation, and that's not enough.
Thank you, Ugo. So your key application is actually collaboration. Collaboration to really make it happen in a real world and creating probably real partnership among the several stakeholders. But in the meantime, as mentioned before, we are also involved in trying to develop, not by chance, an hub, thanks to the Repair Perspective project, of which Sasha will talk about, and will drive you through the objectives of this project, which is about informing, training, and creating a network among the existing, stakeholders to have them on board since the beginning.
Yeah. Hi, thank you. So I thought that we will just see the video because it's very much informative. Yeah.
I was told to push the button. Let's, if I have a superpower.
Once. We face similar challenges.
To overcome the competition of low cost, low quality, disposable objects.
To increase the trust in the reparations, in the professionals.
Supporting initiatives that promote lifespan of the products.
This is something that we aim to show through our project Repair.
We have gathered the needs analysis from the 8 countries of the partnership, and we have to search for the skills that have to be updated now.
For example, poor legislation, then we have the availability of spare parts, for example. Also skills that are needed are just being forgotten.
And to foster growing demand for repair services and meet these needs with accessible and affordable offer.
We believe we play an essential role for consumers' rights to promote and expand the life of our products.
We want to give consumers solutions for their daily life, guides to a step-by-step repair and video tutorials also.
There's a room for improvement in that area, and there's a room for building a new career paths in circular economy, particularly with a focus on repair and reuse.
We are going to propose some policies, some financial instruments. We are going to work on improving the business model and try to change the consumer behavior.
We are going to create a festival around the repair economy.
I think that it's not easy to change the culture of the people, but it's the first step that we have to do.
So let's see if repairing everything can go back to being common sense again.
This was first time, so it's a kind of premiere of the video of Repair project that actually had his own assembly in Marseille 1 month ago, Sasha. So has something to do with how we do communicate, about repairability. So it's also a question on how, the readiness in this case of people should be actors. We have seen that the directive on empowering consumers in the green transition requires retailers to inform buyers and consumers. But the point is, how do we communicate this? Are we really ready to communicate in the right way? Because we have been bombed so far of over-consuming. Maybe we need to use other tools to communicate. Or rather not. What do you think?
Yes. So thank you again. So at the beginning of this project, a bunch of people, also our organization, decided to address the problem of repair. But right at the beginning, we ask ourselves, is it really a problem, or is it rather a solution that we can use, for a better future? And it seems like right now it's like we use it as a historical attitude that has to stay in the past, but not really, So people tend not to listen a lot about negativity and problems and everything, They need to hear also about opportunities, nice things, solutions that we provide for them. And then they are willing to join us, So about the collaboration, as you said, it's very much important. And so we have to talk about repair as a positive thing, I would say. But it's really tricky, you know, once you start talking about it, because this is one approach. We can start having a debate, communicate, like talking, like this is a nice opportunity also. But at the end, you know, if you only talk, then maybe, you know, people are missing something, the action, you know. You have to be a role model, I would say. You have to be present there, you have to do the change, and then people will follow. But it is very tricky, you know, how can you be visible among so many information that we get today, every day? And to compete with marketing, advertisement, you know, it's really tricky. And so I would say that we just have to copy what they do, you know, because they know the psychology of people is, you know, they know us very well. Like, if I only ask you, for example, only 2 days ago or few days ago, we had a Black Friday sale everywhere. How many of you, for example, decided to buy something because it was on sale? You know, we have to start here and thinking, like, how do they do that? You know, it's very tricky, actually. They know us. So if we copy them, I would say, and be, for example, present all the time, everywhere, that's one way. So we have to present a repair, as I said, as an opportunity all the time, continuously, you know. And then people maybe will start to follow, because, you know, as I said, okay, we learned today, we will hear a lot of interesting things today, but tomorrow maybe we'll forget because we have to do something else. So, you know, it's different for different target groups. So if we have young people, you know, they're present on social media, so we have to be present also there. And we have to be fast, and we have to have great video content, as you saw, for example, you know. You can start here. And then another thing that I wanted to say, but I don't have time, which is very important, is storytelling. You know, I wanted to tell you a story, but it's too long. Okay, long story short. Yeah, no, it's a true story. You know, my mother bought a vacuum cleaner for me when I was a child because I had allergies to dust. And that was 25 years ago. And it was a very expensive vacuum cleaner. And it's still working, and it's at my mom's home. And when I moved to my first apartment, and of course I bought myself an item, also a vacuum cleaner, that was around 8 years ago. It was not that expensive. I didn't have that much money, so it was a bit cheaper. It was available for me. But you know what? It stopped working after 6 years. So I have now another one, because I decided to buy another one. I have to admit that, I will be honest. But I still have that first one, so I will repair it. But yeah, I mean, this is a true story. This is an everyday story. It happens to all of us. And also, another story that I wanted to say, like, if you remember what you experience in your life, I did just the other day. I saw a man looking through the garbage in front of the building. And instantly I thought, why is he poor, you know? And then I remembered, like, no, he's just perhaps, of course, but he's also super smart because he knows that we throw away something that has value for us, you know, for him and also for us, but not really because we have money to buy something else. So perhaps he's just like looking for food, you know, or for clothes to survive, or perhaps there is an item there that he can sell because it's still valuable. So those are the stories that has to be presented, you know. So we really have to work together and share experiences and knowledge and have a great video content as well, yeah, and also be present. It's in every media possible, as we said, social media for youngsters and also TV and also radio, for example. And to really join events also, you know, it's very nice that we joined here today for the one purpose, to make a better world at the end. But it is also very important that we are present with the specific topic that people don't expect to see or hear about it somewhere else, you know, as a shopping center, as we did the Festival of Repair in Marseille, in France. So we were present also there. People did not expect that. It's an effect of surprise, you know. We challenge them, we trigger emotions, and that's also an important thing, I would say. So yeah, and if we join such events, for example, and make them happy, not just we will be discussing about that important topic and I can feel that I cannot do anything about it, so I will not be present. If we join that with something nice, with food, you know, with drinks, we all like to eat and drink something nice, and with music or something like that, that can be a very cool event with an informational note, you know, and we can push the right buttons at the right time. So yeah, something like that.
So it's also a question of activating the right drivers of choice, which have to do a lot also about emotions, not actually feel people guilty for you know, okay, having a trouble, don't know how to do so, but really playing the card of making them, as you said before, feel part of a huge. Probably we should monitor, better monitor, you know, this success story of repairability, and may build on that, kind of having testimonial or ambassadors of product repair. I remember I was in Milan some months ago together with Ugo. In a kind of municipality space, a repair cafe, actually, the name of which was Mosso, where we all together was discussing this issue, how to make it happen. And there was a producer, manufacturer, actually telling the story of 200 washing machines, I guess, recover by the collect center. So they were given, then were given to some families who could not afford them. But these 200 washing machines were simply thrown away, and they were given life again just thanks to a repair action. So it's again, feel proud of making product last longer. In some cases, thanks to the collaboration with repair centers and brands that actually make available spare parts and the technology to repair them. But it's also let people know about it, that it's possible to do, and that maybe could be rewarded somehow. Thank you, Sasha. And I guess you can also add maybe a word about the objectives we have seen in the video of the repair project are mainly then to inform and create this kind of consciousness and mindset around repairability in a nutshell, right?
Correct, yeah. So yeah, we will do that. We will try to, you know, collaborate with all the important stakeholders, starting from the consumers, but ending with the policy makers, decision makers. So at the right time, we also have to be present at the right time. We will inform and we will showcase for all of them the things that we do and the things that we believe in. And yeah, if we are a role model, you know, then that can be a change. We'll see. Looking forward.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Sasha. Maybe we'll meet each other in Marseille again next year. Let's go down to my friend Rembrandt Koppeler, I said before, from EcoWise. May I ask you, Rembrandt, is DPP, Digital Product Pass, a new hype trend in Brussels or around Europe, or a reasonably game changer of trusted certification or data chain, which is the kind of enabling factor of future repairability? Because we know, as Ugo said, that is a provision of the eco-design regulation, Article 9, foreseen that. We'll see the delegated act. We'll see from which category of product the European Commission will start. But the point is, do you think genuinely will be a game changer, and how Circular Project is, you know, really setting the scene for that? Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. We collaborate in the Circular Project already for 2.5 years, very gladly with Ultraconsum and OCU, and this also with Euroconsumers. The hype is going to start in a few years. There's no hype yet. And it is a game changer. And I think the analogy is search engines on the internet. Before you had search engines, you went to the library to find information, or you asked some expert friends, and so on. Your hotline. Now you can find all the information on the internet. The digital product passport is the equivalent for product information. So you can imagine, physical labels. Okay, the label will be digitized. But the label will be digitized with standardized information coming partially from the regulation, partially from the market. The other thing is the product information can be updated, especially if some of the digital product passports will be unique to your washing machine, to your sweater, to your bicycle, to your chair, to your microphone. And so there will be standardized ways to start to engage at the point of repair, at the point of when you no longer want the item, want to get it collected, want to sell it as second hand. And the market will quite quickly, once that's in place, start to take opportunity there. Because there's a lot of opportunity. And this is the part of the game changer. So the first part is searchability of information. Imagine you want to buy something and you want, with 2 clicks, you can find all the alternatives on the EU market. Not on the national market, on the EU market. This will come. And this is part of those IT systems that the EU is developing. And then you can link to all the pricing information as well and other characteristics. And you can find out, okay, this one has that much recycled content, this one has that much CO2 emissions, this one has that much water consumption, and you can start ranking all these environmental criteria. This is going to come. It will take some time. This is why the hype will only come in 3, 4, 5 years, and it will start, the first thing for consumers will be clothing. So by 2028, more or less, all the clothing in the store will have a digital product passport, and then the market will start developing applications on top of it. I hope that gives a bit of a flavor.
It's okay. But what have been experienced so far in Circular project that you think it would be useful to share here in terms also of difficulties that you didn't expect to face, or on the contrary, something that you discovered that it was easier maybe and you didn't expect to find there during the execution of the project? Was about really following the journey of actually some electrical appliances through the collaboration with consumer organization, for example, pilots that we did together.
Yeah, so in this project we've been working for 3.5 years with 5 manufacturers, mostly in appliances, but also in boilers, solar glass batteries, 2 recyclers, 2 collector type organizations, PROs, but 2 collectors, but also repairers, refurbishers, consumer organizations. And I think one of the challenges is that this requires a whole mindset change on all the actors. And this is the first challenge. And for example, this is about exchanging information you normally don't share. And it's not just a manufacturer issue. This is also an issue on the collection side, an issue on the recycler side. You ask the recyclers, can you share this information to the manufacturers about what you produce in terms of raw materials? And they don't, no, that's secret. Can you think about preparing for reuse and changing the way you collect things so you don't damage them in the chain? This is a standard practice. There's no provision to say that when you collect items, you need to properly collect them and screen them for reuse. And this is like, no, we can't do that. We don't have the money. Yeah. So there's a lot of things that need to change with all the actors. And I think this is the biggest change. It's like, okay, how can we reinvent the way we do things? That when you bring it to the reuse and recycling center, it's not put on a heap of products or a pile or however. This is most standard in most cases. So maybe in your city it's not, that would be great, but in most cases it's not such a nice way of dealing with products. And that's, I think, part of the bigger challenges. And the other is so the willingness to exchange information and the existence of the information. So that's the other problem. And the digitization around it. So there are many challenges, but they're solvable. Yeah, they're all
information
solvable.
That maybe the manufacturers or the several actors along the value chain do not value as valuable information that is valuable maybe for someone else. So, okay, just like for the case of, from our side as consumer organization, collecting the user experience during the famous journey, in terms also of understanding what is on the label and how to really behave accordingly, because maybe it's a question of comprehension, of language, of habits. It's really hard then to make them do the right thing at the right time in order not, the sustainable choice to be the easy one, as said, because if it's not easy, people won't do that. Okay. Thank you, Rembrandt. But let's then come to you, Paolo, and bring in, please, the vision of the perspective of a company such as Vodafone is, how you are actually preparing you for this sustainable challenge of the Green Deal, made of several pieces of legislation, but mainly what are the key strategies that you are implementing to address these climate-related challenges, and mainly, I would say, talking about misleading communication, if I may, because also, of course, but I mean, I guess the big challenge in being you a telco company is also, you know, being fair about the way we say things.
And we feel this responsibility. Well, first of all, thanks, Luisa, and thanks to your consumers for this great event. I assume that everyone knows Vodafone, so I don't say spend many words on it. Just want to underline that we're not a product manufacturer, we are a reseller, and we sell services that have a network behind. So this is our focus, clearly. First of all, let me say that I'm very happy to be here and to be part of this panel. And what I heard till now is something that perfectly matches our vision of sustainability, because we believe that sustainability is a collective exercise. So we are all part of that exercise, we are all part of the solution, and we all can be the change, or must be the change, I don't know. In Vodafone, our purpose is very clear, that is connecting for a better future, and is based on two pillars: protecting the planet and empowering people. Sustainability, in fact, is a critical part of our strategy, our business strategy. And I believe that this is because we are not just committed to the reduction of our carbon footprint, as all the major companies are nowadays, but we play a critical role also in terms of enabling societies in turning green. Something digital passport couldn't be possible without us. So we contribute also by connecting people and including them. Said this, I wanted to share something about what we are doing, what we have started doing over the last years, starting from our climate transition plan that we have published a few months ago in May. I want to talk about transparency and transparency in communication with our green claims governance, and perhaps referring to some initiatives in terms of product efficiency and expanding product life cycles, let's say, also coming to reparability, or maybe to circularity more in general. Starting with the climate transition plan, the climate transition plan is a very powerful tool, I believe, that we published the last spring, and it's a framework that we use to show how we are turning our climate goals into something concrete. In fact, it lists like 17 actions, very detailed and measurable actions. It's public, it's online, everyone can download it. And actions divided into 3 categories. The reduction of emission, both of our operations, so scope 1 and 2, and of the whole value chain, scope 3, so from energy efficiency to renewable energy purchase to reshaping the procurement, the product and services portfolio, etc. Then we focus on the actions important to address the risks related to the climate change, and on this there is a focus on misleading communication, but I can come back to this very soon, and this is very important also to make the business, let's say, climate resilient somehow. And then we have a third area where we focus on the actions that we prioritize in order to get opportunities out from.
Yeah, and if I may, as I'm talking to a businessman in a way, and not for the others not being so, but I mean, from the business perspective, there's been a return of your investment, because I mean, the challenge is whether or not, you know, there is the readiness of the market in terms also of demand. So you are offering kind of refurbished goods, but are people really then buying things? What is the response that you received?
Somehow, yes, we work, but perhaps later I'll mention this more deeper. We work on the refurbishment of devices, and there is a market, even if limited, because it's true what I've heard till now, but I was reflecting, listening to you all, but I think that most of our customers, even if the product they're dealing with is not broken or didn't reach the end of its life cycle, they want to change it. They just want to change it. So our actually role here is to try to give a second life to that product, trying to find the angle in the market that still want it, perhaps also going abroad. Imagine that, keep in mind that Vodafone has a very huge footprint, both in Europe and Africa. So perhaps we could also work through the footprint and collect, and it's something that we do. We collect devices in Europe, we refurbish them, and then we resell them in Africa. And by the way, this is a very important tool of inclusion, because a smartphone in Africa is not affordable. As a refurbished smartphone is affordable. So it's something very interesting, I would say.
Yeah, sure. You should actually reach a new target and actually prolong the life of the product, but still what you mentioned, that it could be a question of really making the refurbished product affordable, and in a way also really targeting the issue of planned obsolescence, also driven by fashion or by the fact that people have been pushed by advertisement in buying the new model on the market to change the mindset really and make it, I don't want to say cool to have a second hand, but yeah, maybe even try to really somehow
yes.
be cool in, as has been said before, revise, not reduce, and maybe choose a kind of better quality device in order to make it last longer.
Well, what drives more our consumers when buying a product, so I'm talking about smartphones mainly, I think it's innovation. And innovation goes very fast, so the product gets old very fast as well. But there is clearly a huge, an increasing interest in sustainability, an increasing awareness in consumers' impact on the planet. So there is also an increasing consumers market that are interested in this. For example, in 2021, I think we launched an initiative that is called eco-rating labeling. So it's a way of giving consumers more information in order to take informed decision. And in particular, we focused on reparability and duration, expected duration, let's say, of the product. Then it's up to the customer to decide if they still want the very last version of the coolest device, or if they want to sacrifice perhaps a little bit of coolness and get more sustainability. This is really an issue of education, communication.
Do you see, by the way, a space in having reparability as a service also for a company perspective? I mean, do you see it as a business that can develop or?
Not yet. I would say that what I see now is they're more into another service that we launched, and this perhaps answer partially what you're saying is a trade-in service. So we incentivize customers to come back to us, to our stores, giving back the devices, getting a discount on the new ones, and what we do behind the scene is giving a second life to that device. So again, we refurbish or recover the raw material, because even the single raw material could be important.
I do remember that together with Altro, I see my colleague here in the room of Altro, we denounced actually a practice made at that time by Samsung, and if I'm not wrong, was unfair commercial practices, because they were offering a new smartphone if you could send them, of course, the old version, but the way it was formulated was not fair, and actually the price that you had back was not a good evaluation of your actually old, that maybe was not so very old smartphone. So that was an unfair commercial practice that we actually denounced to the competition authority. But I mean, there are ways for sure to enable this kind of trade or new balance between, you know, having the product repair, maybe for a new target, so still make people realize that this is still a value and incentivize probably more sustainable behavior.
It's a mix of tools, perhaps. Also in this case, incentives, storytellings, role models. We can put all this together. For example, when coming again to circularity, that is something at the very heart of our strategy. We have some projects with prisons in Italy where we employ inmates, asking them to work for us in order to refurbish smartphones, or also pieces or components of our network, so antennas, for example. And this is important because it puts together circularity of the product, inclusion of people. It's a very powerful way of reintegrating people in the society. So we are trying to create stories that attract people, but it's tough to reach all the customers. And well, I'm not sure we are still ready for a repairability market.
Sure, maybe we should promote it more. Thank you very much, Paolo.
Thanks.
I don't know whether you in the audience would like to raise some question, and so please.
Cool. Thanks for the interesting conversation to everyone. I wanted to seize on the last point or one of the points that Paolo made, which is in all of these initiatives, to what degree does the definition of repairability include upgradability? Because the example of the phone is one. Another could be laptops, for example. It used to be the case that you could upgrade a laptop and add extra memory in it. So I just bought a laptop. In a couple of years, maybe I can repair it. But actually, by that point, I know already it won't be up to the task anymore, because AI, blah, will have increased the requirement, and I can't upgrade it. I know that now, but I couldn't afford sort of the higher version. So actually, you kind of want to allow people to upgrade a few years down the line. Otherwise, repairability is kind of moot. So that's a question.
Well, I think I can answer partially to your question, because we don't produce, smartphones, so I can't really enter into that. My perception is that we are going, looking at the digital world as a whole, is that we are going into an increasing virtualization of the applications, and this means that the hardware is more neutral, and therefore, yes, it could be potentially, but this is my idea, my personal idea. This can open to the possibility to upgrade it instead of just repair it. What we do, if I may add, on networks is something like what you were saying. So on network components, so following the evolution of networks, we reuse antennas, for example, or smaller components of our network, and we adapt them to the new technologies. We upgrade them. We are building the 5G networks on this basis, for example.
Please, Rembrandt.
Yeah, I think this is also, we can see this broader beyond electronics. Furniture, clothing, other parts. I'll give you a story. My partner was unfortunately in a cycling accident, and she had a very nice jacket from Paris, and it was stripped, cut all the way. But then a seamstress, a friend of hers, put a very nice piece of fabric in between, and it's now upgraded, from my perspective. But this is also, I think the first step here is we can't jump yet to upgradability, because we are first trying to understand how do we make those products more modular and to provide information how to disassemble components so we can take them out and upgrade them. And this is the first step under the eco-design regulation, that for certain products this will become mandatory information. And some very detailed information on how to disassemble, not necessarily public, could be restricted. Once we have that, we can start thinking about upgradability. I want these chairs, I don't like the gray color, personally. If I buy them, I want to upgrade the upholstery to make that easier, for example, for me. This is quite normal now. If you moved into a new house, you don't like the colors, you change it, but for furniture, it's very hard to do. Is furniture very much more difficult than painting? Not necessarily. So I think we first have to really build this disassembly information, and then businesses will come to start doing this at lower cost. But
it's true that interoperability of software has been a barrier that we experience so far, changing really and exchanging information and making it really hard for consumers to sometimes prolong the life of the appliances. So this has been the major user experience, that the main barrier that we need to really overcome. I don't know, Ugo, if you want to comment on this.
Probably Silvia too, but I think upgradability of smartphones is not a thing. And in fact, if you go back almost 10 years, that was like a big promise of this is the future, we'll buy modular smartphones for the purpose of them being continuously upgradable. The modularity that worked is the modularity in the sense that make it easier for people to replace a component. But where it's possible already, I mean, you're right that laptops have become much harder, and that's why we're fighting for legislation to give... Okay, sorry. Wow.
Maybe the battery.
So for where modularity does work is indeed for laptops. First of all, that's why we are fighting for legislation to make it mandatory, because now soldering of solid-state drives and RAM modules is very common for some brands. It's still possible to buy upgradable ones today, and there are some wonderful examples of very progressive new manufacturers, framework being the most prominent, that makes very modular, upgradable, to the point that you're saying, like where you can swap the processor for the next generation, reusing everything else. For other products, we'll see, but I think that by and large, I'm commenting on Paolo's point earlier. I mean, I think that the pace of innovation, for example, even in the smartphones world, aside from the push now to make us believe that we all need an AI something smartphone, the innovation, you can't tell 1 year from the past year for the vast majority of phones. The 95% of things that you do don't change. It's a mature, saturated market, and that's why AI now only works on the iPhone 16 and not on the previous ones. So it's, for most products, this is not really the issue. Like, people want it to be longer lasting and repairable so that they don't have to worry about this concept upgrading of functionalities. I mean, we kind of need a bit less possibly rather than more.
Thank you. I don't know if you have any other question. Otherwise, there was a question there? No? Yes?
Not anymore.
No? Not anymore?
It's answered.
So I would then try to ask you then to kind of final takeaways of 1 minute each, kind of lesson learned for our audience to bring home and share afterwards and change their behavior?
Okay, starting with me. You know, as I said before, the grass is always greener on the other side, right? So we always want more and different. And yeah, but if you water your grass and you don't look so much over the fence, then you can realize that you have enough. So try to remember that. And I will now take your words as well, because you once said, like, do we really need the new perspective of repair? And we do, because right now it's linear. We buy, and then we throw it away, like away is somewhere else and not here on this planet. And if we go all together, it doesn't matter who we are, just consumers or policymaker or producer, if we shift that towards circularity, we can double the amount, right, of the materials that stay within the economy. And again, if we go to the start of my presentation, this is the opportunity rather than a problem, and we have to see it like that. And just to, and that was said in the video, to get back the common sense of what is logical and what is there. So use that. Thank you.
Thank you, Sasha, for your wisdom. Paolo?
Well, for sure, for me, the key is that get it done together somehow. So being part of a network, being part of a big cooperation, everyone respecting its own role, clearly. But together, I think we can change it. It won't be a revolution. I don't expect a revolution, actually. But if all of us...
An evolution rather than a revolution.
Yeah, exactly. A gradual evolution, and we can all be a part of that puzzle.
Yes, indeed. I was, before giving the floor to you, Silvia, I forget to mention an online survey recently anticipated by the OECD Consumer Policy Committee at the European Commission last week. They managed this in 18 countries. They surveyed 35,000 people and investigating consumer attitudes. And okay, everyone, you imagine, was of course 70% concerned about environmental impact of their consumption choice. But when they were asked how many of you in the last 12 months have bought second-hand products, guess how many? Answer, yes.
Not many.
90%. So again, it's a gap, you know, in terms of how we think and how we behave. We need to walk the talk, and of course, we need to be the first to do so, and to really be convincing and nudging people to really change behavior. But as we used to say at BEUC, the sustainable choice must be the easy one. Otherwise, people would not follow. So.
Yeah, exactly. I think you took the, the words from my mouth. I think, yes, I think we know that what consumers want and how that consumers would like to take an active part in the transition and being more sustainable. The problem is this possible at the moment? We are seeing from also the regulatory level, there are the bases, but there are a lot of things that still need to be done to really make it the easy, the affordable, the fun option, right? So I think today we've heard a lot of perspectives, and it's now the time to really implement everything and really do not, go away and say, okay, we have done enough, because this is really just the start of the talk, and we really need to now put more efforts in bringing this to consumers live.
Yeah, sure. Must be fun already also, right, Ugo? How to make it fun?
I mean,
repairability.
I think everyone should simply attend a repair event in their community, in their city, in their neighborhood, because it really changes your perspective. And it's very empowering. I mean, if once you've repaired something, you care about that very object a lot more also, because you're a little bit proud of what you've achieved with the help of someone else. So that's very transformative. And, in parallel, we didn't mention it earlier, but we've done some research in the last year showing that the vast majority of our recycling centers doesn't have any route pathway towards reuse. I mean, this was in the UK, only 19%. And previous research we done, like more than 1 out of 3 products that reach such centers are actually completely reusable and shouldn't have got there. So if we bring the joy of repair and that attitude, bringing coalitions together that kind of defeat that gray mountain of waste, which is growing, you know, it's grown 80% between 2010 and 2022. I mean, we need to do something about it, and it can be fun. So if we do it all together, it can be even a lot more fun. So when we can celebrate a reduction of that mountain, that will be a even more fun time.
Okay, thanks. Rembrandt?
Yeah, I would like to reiterate the slogan, empower people, improve the market. And this is something I think 80% of my day now about digital product passports, which is needed. And one part of this is as a communication channel. So it gives potentially the opportunity for a manufacturer to do constant surveys, not that the consumers will be happy with that necessarily, but on their products, yeah, as a direct communication channel. And that means they could start to ask, literally, do you want repair? Do you want to get some money to buy it back? Do you want reuse? Do you want this, that, and that? And so how do you turn that into a mechanism to a race to the top instead of a race to the bottom? And so this is my takeaway of also working with Euroconsumers. And I'm very happy to say that we're also continuing this collaboration, the Circular Intelligence Association that we just set up. And we have a banner, and if you want to have some sample DPPs, you can scan the QR codes that we've made in the project, and we will be evolving. But the key takeaway is empower people, improve the market, and action. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, and a big applause to my panelists, and as well as to you for listening, and hope it's been an interesting session. Thanks a lot.